Hello everyone, this is a little video on Wing Commander 3. I'm going to be going through just kind of some of the basic, not so much how to fly in combat, but some of the basic preparations you have before combat. So, first off, when you get to any mission, you have to select your ship. The main three that you'll be having for most of the game are the Arrow, which is a light, fast fighter, the Hellcat, which is kind of a medium, middle of the road fighter, and the Thunderbolt, which is a heavy fighter, which has more guns, more armor. I think actually, yeah, same amount of decoys as the Hellcat, but is slower. Now, I am a gigantic speed junkie, so I almost always fly the Arrow whenever I have the option. But before I select that, I just want to quickly go through the missiles, because missiles are quite important. Heat seekers are a powerful missile, but you need to maintain a lock from behind a Kilrathi enemy for a few seconds before the missile can lock on and you can fire it. The plus side of this is that they do a pretty decent amount of damage, and they'll always hit in the back, which is usually where you want to focus your fire anyway. The minus side is that you do have to stay on someone's tail for a few seconds to get the missile going. Next up is the image recognition missile. That one is teeny tiny, slightly less powerful than the heat seeker, but generally more useful because you just need to have the enemy in your sights for a few seconds while the brackets close, and then you can lob it off. The identify friend or foe missile is one I do not particularly like. It doesn't lock on any enemy in particular. You can just launch them immediately, but they don't do that much damage, and it's hard to kind of focus them on a specific enemy. You can fire off a cloud of them, and you might wind up moderately damaging a few enemies without destroying any of them. The leech is a weird one. It doesn't actually do any damage. What it does do, though, is it drains the power of whatever target you hit with it. I find that its best use is for capital ships. You hit a capital ship with one, and it sucks out their power, and usually their shields stop regenerating, which can be good for wearing an enemy down. Mines, completely useless except for one mission that you have to lay them at certain jump points, but you can drop them off behind you, and if an enemy flies into them, they will take a moderate amount of damage. And the dumbfire is the other completely useless missile. In theory, it's very powerful. It does the most damage of any of the missiles by a fair amount, but it's just point and shoot like your guns, and you will almost certainly miss and do nothing with it. Never bother with these. But I wanted the Arrow. Now, the Arrow can only take heat seekers and image recognition, so I'm going to go with 6 imrecs and 2 heat seekers. Whoops. Okay, whoops, don't crash into the carrier. So the first thing you do is you want to accelerate to your max speed. You pretty much always want to be going at your maximum speed. Second, I like to switch to full guns, and then I will adjust the power. Now, your power is by default distributed into 4 systems: engines, weapons, shields, and damage repair. In general, anything below 25% affects the output. So if I lower the engine power below 25, you can see that my maximum speed starts to suffer. Now, going above 25 doesn't actually make me faster. What it will do is it'll make me accelerate and decelerate more. So, similar thing with like shields. If I bring shields below 25%, it will weaken my shields. If I increase it above it, it doesn't make the shields bigger, it just makes them recharge a bit faster. Damage control will only repair it if something gets through my shields, then through my armor, and starts causing damage. What I will usually do is lower this to 0, and then if I take damage after I've cleared a nav point, I'll bring it up to 100 long enough to fix what I can, and then reallocate again. What I want, though, is to put 50% into weapons. Again, this won't actually make my guns do any more damage on a single shot, but I will run out of power. You see to the right of my radar screen on the bottom, that red line, it will lower, well, more precisely, it recharges much faster this way. It won't make my shots do more damage, but I will get to shoot more frequently. Now, let's go on our adventure. So the transport is under attack. We will go shoot down the Darkets. Oh, by the way, I'm using tab to activate my afterburners. That makes me fly faster for short bursts. The blue fuel line to the left is what shows you how much fuel you have left. I am staying locked on my opponents, and you'll see the little green dot for where the ITTS is indicating I should be shooting. New enemies, hit L to lock onto them, and I am going to, as much as possible, I like to engage Kilrathi before they get close to whatever I'm supposed to be defending. Now here's a trick when you're going against slower opponents. I don't want to crash into him from behind, so when I'm right on his tail, I hit Y. That locks speed to your target. And like so I don't crash into him before I shoot him down. I just want to make sure that the... Okay, I guess we are locked in with the transport. Okay, so I'm going to have Flint attack. The Corvette will shoot the skip missile at some point. I want to keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, let's kill a Drothi. I am going to use my missiles here because I want to kill things fast. Skip missile. Where did you go? Damn it. Okay, so speed up and just do not crash into the missile yourself. That would be bad. Okay, it's probably going towards the transport. So I just... And there we go. Missile destroyed, and we can take out the Corvette at our leisure. Now, against a Corvette, I don't like to get too close. Those guns can chew you up pretty bad. You can try to shoot the turrets off, but usually, actually, I find the safer way is to just engage at about 5,000 clicks, close until you're about 2,000 clicks, and then break off for another run. They will have their shields recharge a bit in the meantime, but not nearly as much as how much damage I'm doing. And Corvette slagged. Like so. By the way, if you hear creaking, that's just because my joystick is like 1,000,000 years old. I can hear it, like here recording it. I'm not sure how well it's going to show up on the recording. By the way, one of the reasons I'm switching targets here, normally I like to focus on one enemy and destroy it, but if you shoot at Kilrathi, they tend to shoot back at you, and right now the mission objective is to protect the transport, so I'd rather have them shooting at me than potentially shooting at the much slower and more vulnerable thing. Just a general quote, this is really more for dealing with enemy capital ships, but if you press R, it will switch as to which turret you're highlighting. Again, I think it's more trouble than it's worth a lot of the time, but you can try to shoot the turrets off of enemy vessels with precise targeting. Just need to wait for the transport to jump. And like so. Anyway, I hope that was somewhat informative, and I hope this, been interesting.